Welcome back to the Beards and Business Show, NBA edition, Phoenix Suns versus Dallas Mavericks. And once again, Sky Parker is coming on to represent the Phoenix Suns, and I'm here with my Dallas Mavericks. Hey, Sky, welcome back to the show. Really looking forward to chopping it up on this one. And I got to say right off the bat, got to eat a little bit of crow. I didn't think that we were going to come out as flat as we did. I mean, at one point it was a 9-0 lead that the Suns had in the very beginning. And I said, well, I don't believe we're going to hit my 131 that I had predicted. And
but you were closer than me. Here's what I'll say. In the first half, I was looking pretty good on a 105-95 game. But I think Dallas figured out some things in the second half. Part of it was the Suns got into a little bit of preventive mode with the lead that they had. Part of it is our 37-year-old got a little bit tired. And so it was closer to your score prediction than mine.
Well, I'll tell you,
and that's the type of score that you need to be on top of barely to pull an upset in our house.
No, I absolutely agree. And that's the reason why I had predicted that. It was like the only way that they win is that they outscore them. And again, Chris Paul even Jason Kidd said, Chris Paul has perfected the point guard. And again, he just controlled the tempo of the game. He worked really, really well. And as you said, throwing Bridges on Luka, really worked out from a defensive standpoint. Even though he threw up 45, that's nothing to scoff at on his first playoff postseason debut.
One of the things that they figured out, though, so only about 10 of those points were on Mikal, which I still think defensive player of the year. In the possessions, he guarded Luka, but in the second half, when he really got in a rhythm, they were throwing out some good switches. The things that made me nervous, though, is Luka's so smart when he was throwing the switches. He was getting into the lane a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was doing basically what I wanted us to do in the second half, is to keep attacking and go into the paint. DeAndre had pretty much the game that I needed him to have. He did take advantage. So I think from a stat filler, DeAndre and Booker did what they needed to do. Booker looked healthy, looked great. Chris Paul controlled the tempo. He kept it slow in the first half. And it wasn't really until about halfway through the third quarter that Dallas got out running and, really started making a push. We held them off a little bit. We got in the fourth quarter and, we did play a little bit too preventative. But in those close games, I think where we'd have the upside, Luka's amazing in clutch. But if you look at the numbers, having our whole backcourt, Booker and Chris, it's going to be tough to beat in a close game. But I mean, the guy dropped 45.
Right.
If there's a guy that can bring that quick and score points in a hurry and get the tempo, Luka's the guy that can still one of those close games. So
yeah, and I'm interested to hear your prediction for game two. I know that we've kind of chopped it up a little bit about just what we think might happen and stuff like that. But game two. Still in Phoenix, getting ready to go back to Dallas. You think Dallas has to win this one right here to stay in it? Or do you think that they can go back to Dallas, still win two in Dallas and make it a series? Because that's what would have to happen if Phoenix takes game two.
So if I turn my cap around and I'm in the Dallas camp right now, I almost feel like you have to steal this game to have a chance in this series. And, the reason being, people forget, with the best record in the league, at times we're better on the road.
Right. No, I know.
Even if I think you're going to have to steal this one and protect home court.
Right.
And Dallas in the playoffs, they came alive at home to finish up the last series. So I think that's sustainable, but I do feel like, even though it was close at the end, if the Suns come out and control it again from start to finish, again being a little bit lax at the end, it's going to make it really, really tough for Dallas to come through on this series. So this is the key where they got to come out and try to punch them in the mouth. If I'm on Dallas side, a lot more transition. They're so young and fast. You know, you got the Finney Smith. And the one thing that I saw that was working, and you know, the Suns were shooting 50%. They've just been lights out the entire playoffs. Your centers can shoot, and that was really spreading the floor when you made the comeback. And even the awesome, you know, it opened up the floor. Even that awesome alley oop that Luka threw to Kleiber, and you know, I was 20 feet away from that play.
Looks
I
scary.
hope long term that he's okay. You know, went through the testing. But that opened it up because now we're spreading, and you drew DeAndre out to the top of the key. So, you know, if Kleiber, Burton's, if they can come out and hit some threes and take some of the pressure off Luka, that would be one thing. But, you know, the thing about Chris Paul that, you know, that takes away your transition game is he doesn't turn the ball over.
Right.
And that's how Dallas is used to, you know, running and getting their hands. We were winning that battle. We were getting the turnovers. We were out running. So they need to figure out, you know, either taking advantage when Chris Paul is on the bench, because there was a little riff, and this was our perfect scenario. When Monty took him out, we still got his proficiency, but he played less than 30 minutes.
Right.
So that, I think, part of the reason Monty did that. Now we're in a back-to-back, and this is going to be the biggest game. So it's like, all right, if you're going to play 40 minutes, we're probably going to need you all the way through on this game if Dallas comes out like I think they're going to come out.
Absolutely. And I think you're spot on with that. It's got to be just a punch in the mouth that is just, they got to take that first quarter hard and heavy to them, get up and just never take their foot off the throat in order to make a successful win in today. And I believe that today is the day that determines the rest of the series. Yeah. And so I think it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And, you know, I love both teams. Being in Arizona now, being from Dallas, it's fun to watch both teams. But it's been a great experience. I know for this young Dallas Mavericks team to be there, to play well, you know, had a real slow start, adjusted, did well, came back, played some good basketball, and looking forward to game 2.
Yeah. And the adjustments are tough because I think the toughest thing for Dallas, when you say come out and hit him in the mouth, Lucas, he's still going to have to get 45. The guy's just going to have to be a superstar. But Phoenix did a really good job of taking out the role players outside of when they opened it up and they had the 3-pointers. So they're really going to need a second and third player to either get hot from 3 or take some of that pressure off. Because when I say this, you know, Luke had to play 46 minutes. He was kind of tired. I mean, my favorite play of the game, this doesn't happen unless you got a completely tired superstar. When JaVale McGee stole it from him between his legs, went all the way down. Like, I was like, man, he in a back-to-back night like this, where it's 2 nights later, Luka's going to have to dig deep, and he's going to need a lot of help.
Right. And I think that is, probably one of the biggest things is all true superstars show their true colors when their team rises up to their level of playing. You know, we've seen it in the dynasty groups. We've seen groups bring superstars together and not do as well as one superstar bringing up other teammates around them. And I think that both Suns and the Mavs have that ability. Right.
And the other thing to that, and they have a young, is he's going to need help on defense, because when you work that hard on offense, Luka somewhat becomes a liability on defense because he's working so hard. So I think the fact that when he had a lot of looks where he was on Booker, and we're making him work on that side.
It affects you on the offense 100%.
Man. So if we're making him work, we're getting physical. You know, he's only 22, I think. So he should
be able to do anything.
But also, you know, we got a young team too.
Right.
So I think a lot of it, they're going to have to come out and they're going to have to make Chris Paul play 40 minutes,
right?
Finish a strong game. I don't think Booker is quite 100% at this point.
Right.
So I'm
Even though,
always
man, the guy
curious.
couldn't miss.
I'm always looking in warmups. He still has that style. He played great defense, but he's going to need a lot of help, and he didn't get that outside of the centers. So whether that's Finney Smith, he's going to need a second person. And the other thing to that, and they can't control this with as hot as the Suns have been, they're going to need them to cool down. But in the
Right.
first half, man, the Suns did everything that I thought they were going to do from a standpoint. They were getting to the paint. DeAndre was forcing the action. JaVale McGee came in and gave good minutes, and we really used that size. So I think you can give the same score as your first game. It's going to need to be a score like that, and they're going to have to figure out a way to hit the tempo and hit their shots.
No,
Because if
absolutely.
not, yeah. And granted, you got to keep playing Chris Paul, make him work full court. We saw that formula in the finals with Drew Holiday. A lot of teams are picking that up with the Pelicans. So it's going to be tough, but I think Dallas needs to win this game to have a chance at the series. But we're going to have to, and maybe there'll be a new hero step up on your team, but somebody's got to step up and play that 2 or 3 role.
No, absolutely. I don't think it could be said any better right there. I appreciate the breakdown there. All right, final predictions. What are we predicting for today's game?
So I think Dallas is going to come out and bring the same type of score. Although I would like it to be lower. I'd love to give Chris Paul some more rest. I think it is going to be a high scoring affair. I think, anything I'd mentioned, Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer, got his basketball right here. He has got to get them out and running. They're going to need to find a way to turn the ball over. So if I had to make a prediction, I do think the Suns are going to take this one. I think it's going to be in the range of about 115 to 109.
115 to 109. Now, you're not too far off from me. I think it's going to be 113 to 111. But I believe that the Dallas Mavericks are going to do what it takes because they know how important this game is. And it's going to be just a back and forth game. And I think that you're right. Keeping Chris Paul on the floor and making sure that he is working hard is their goal today.
Yes. And I agree. And, Jason Kidd's going to have the performance of his life. He has got to have these kids. And that's the other thing that you can't compare. And we just talked before in the Grizzlies and the Warriors. The Warriors have that experience, so that the fact that the Suns went all the way and got that close, and if anything, they picked up. So they have that experience. They know what it takes in a game like this. So Jason Kidd's preparation is going to have to be extra special to get these young kids to understand that every minute of this game, you have to give it 100% so that we can rest and go home. And that's the only way that we're going to have a chance in this series.
Yeah, there's no holding anything back in this game.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that is, like you said, it's hard to coach to that, especially when you have a young team, have never been there before, don't even know what it's like to give 100% in every second that you're on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's just a unique thing about basketball. There's always a time that you can take a little play off, catch your breath, take a few plays off, not really be involved. Especially when this back and forth transition, everybody's running the court. You're not really running down there full speed because they're 15 feet ahead of you. No way that you're going to catch up.
Yeah. And the thing is the motivation is going to have to be 1 through 8. And this is the last thing I'll say, closing thoughts. Your bench outside of your big guy that was hitting the threes has got to bring it, because people don't understand how deep this Suns team is.
Oh man, it's crazy.
So we got our 3 stars in the starting 5, but I mean, you got like Cam Johnson coming off the bench, JaVale McGee.
And they can all nail shots.
They can come out and hit them in the mouth and win the first quarter, but they have to keep that momentum with their role players, because the only disadvantage, and I think why the Pelicans series was so close, is you have an assistant coach to Monty last year right? When he was making
Right.
his coach of the year run, that coached all these role players. So he,
Right.
played them perfect. He was prepared for that. Jason Kidd doesn't have that advantage,
Sure.
but if they come, they could technically come out and hit him in the mouth and get a good lead, but you need to have 1 through 8 performance of their lives, because the second unit for the Suns is going to be another issue.
Absolutely. I think that
So,
that is a great way to end the show. Sky, appreciate your time. We'll see you for the next game. Enjoy the game tonight.
yes,
Take care, man.
sir. You too.